When you think of Challenge Beast in Survivor, you often think of players like Ozzy, Joe, and Kim. And let's be honest, when looking at them, you can understand why they're Challenge Beast. Ozzy and Joe are massive food and camp providers, young, and in great shape. Obviously a great combination to be compared to the other players that are trying to beat them. And as for female Challenge Beasts like Kim and Kelly Wigglesworth, these women are in the prime of their life, with some challenges favoring women over men, giving them the advantage over the men Challenge Beast. And even for Challenge Beasts like Mike Holloway and Terry Dietz, while you don't exactly think of Challenge Beasts when you first look at them, most people would assume they could at least hold their own, and are obviously in much better condition than 99% of middle-aged men. And to counter the previous point about some challenges being more designed to women, the brute strength of a man can give them the edge over women in certain challenges, especially when all players have been starving for over a month. But as they say, you can't judge a book by its cover, and sometimes, even the most on-paper challenge duds can go on to dominate and compete in every single Survivor challenge, and cement their legacy in Survivor history as Challenge Beasts. So today, we'll be counting down the 5 most surprising Challenge Beasts in Survivor history. Before we start, I want to give a few honorable mentions to a couple people. I debated on whether to put Jen on the list, as she is young and obviously in great shape, but given she basically gave up out there, the fact that she was able to tie the all-time women's immunity record that still holds to this day is pretty dang impressive, and she was against some great competition, such as Dave, Alex, and at the very end, Matt. And then there's Cochran, the definition of someone who you wouldn't expect to be a challenge beast, as he won 4 challenges in Caramoan and came the closest to being Ozzy in South Pacific. However, those challenge wins consisted of an eating challenge, a challenge where he had an advantage from the auction, and won the final immunity challenge while also having an advantage, to which, to be fair, he won fair and square. But given the circumstances of his wins, he just missed the list. To start off at number 5, I have the only winner to make the list. We've seen several Challenge Beasts clutch their way to the end to win the game, such as Tom Westman and Mike Holloway, but this winner who competitioned his way to the end is nowhere near the levels of physical peak as some other Survivor winners, and that is Bob Crowley. Bob came into Gabon as a 57-year-old high school physics teacher, and practically had his bones shown by the time Gabon ended. The man was a basic walking skeleton out there. And it's not like he won science fair competitions. He won some very physical competitions, all while having his head on the chopping block the entire time. So it wasn't like he was playing free and easy out there, compared to the rest. He won 3 immunities in Gabon, and 5 individual challenges in a row, all while being a reliable challenge competitor on Coda, to the point where he was even voted most important to their tribe. And when he finally lost the challenge, he was able to beat Maddie in the firemaking challenge to secure his spot in the final 3. Bob basically needed all those challenge wins to earn respect from the jury, because obviously his social and strategic game was severely lacking. Bob might be one of the most on-paper non-challenge threats in Survivor history, considering he was nearing a grandpa age, had a very sedentary occupation, and had basically no body fat by the time Gabon ended. Yet despite this, he was able to be a challenge beast throughout the game, and win clutch immunities against the likes of a personal trainer and Olympian. Or, well, I guess that's a bad point, as just about anyone could beat Crystal Cox in the challenge. But nonetheless, no matter what you think of Bob, you have to respect his challenge abilities, despite everything going against him. At number 4 is Spencer Bledsoe, who won 6 individual immunities in his 2 seasons, which, to put things into perspective, is as many immunities as Joe has won in 3 seasons. A 21-year-old skinny economics major is not exactly who you would think to be on the levels of Joe Englund, but that's exactly what Spencer proved to be out there in Survivor. In Cagayan, he single-handedly won the pathetic Brains Tribe Immunity Challenge, and busted his ass so hard in all the pre-merge challenges that Cass and Tasha decided to spare him over Jatia, despite having a closer relationship with Jatia. He then won 3 individual immunity challenges that season, beating players that worked brawny jobs, beat players like Jeremiah and LJ, who certainly seemed like bigger challenge threats than Spencer, and even beat another unexpected challenge beast in Tasha. Then in Second Chance, after the biggest challenge beast ever, Joe, was voted out, Spencer became the new challenge beast of the season, winning 3 immunities once again, including actually being the one to end Joe's winning streak at the final 9. And what makes Spencer's unexpected challenge prowesses stand out is when you consider who he was up against. I already mentioned the hard competitors he faced in Cagayan, but in Second Chance, he beat the likes of Jeremy, Tasha once again, Wentworth, and another unexpected challenge beast in Keith. Winning 3 immunities 2 separate times is not an easy thing for anybody to do, especially when that person is a 21-year-old economics frat boy facing off against police officers and firemen, making his challenge dominance all that more impressive. And speaking of Mr. Keith Nale, at number 3, we indeed have the firefighter from Louisiana. Now, Keith is an interesting one here, as while 4 immunity wins in 2 seasons is decent, it's not something that would exactly make him a challenge beast. And after all, he is a firefighter, an obviously physically demanding job, so you'd expect Keith to at least hold his own in challenges. But to me, you have to really take a step back to truly examine just how much of a challenge beast Keith really is. Not only does Keith have 4 immunity wins under his belt, but he has 6 individual challenge wins, tied 6th all time, and 3rd all time among 1 or 2-time players, and has been an absolute challenge team asset, winning 11 team challenges. But the big thing you have to look at with Keith is that he has had 6 total second place finishes in his Survivor career. And remember, most of those second place finishes are against the likes of Joe, Spencer, and Natalie, some serious competition. Basically, in pretty much 90% of the individual competitions he competes in, he's almost a guaranteed threat to win any sort of challenge, which is something not even the biggest challenge threats in history can say. Let's also not forget the other insane things Keith was able to do due to his insane challenge prowess. Nale became the first and only person in Survivor history to intentionally mess up her vote just so she could save Keith and eliminate Alec, who was half the age of Keith, simply because Keith proved to be that much of a challenge competitor. And Natalie wanted as many options as possible to beat John and Jacqueline in the next immunity challenge so she could split them up. Natalie took a massive gamble just because she was that desperate to keep a guy like Keith around. And in second chance, he beat Joe in a grueling pole endurance immunity challenge. Again, I don't think even the best of the best could physically, and for that matter mentally, take on Joe. As we saw in Cambodia, literally the entire tribe sat out other than Keith at the final 10 because they assumed Joe would win. But not only did Keith go toe-to-toe with him then, but he outlasted him at the final 8. And that's ultimately the thing with Keith. If I had to choose a player I had the most confidence in to do well in any type of challenge, not only would he be my pick for an unexpected challenge beast, but I would even pick him over the well-known challenge beast in Survivor history. And even though he is a firefighter, for a 53-year-old man with a beer belly to be one of the most reliable competitors in Survivor history is really unexpected. And I hope in the future that Keith's challenge dominance overshadows his lack of gameplay. At number 2 is a man who gives hope to dad bods everywhere. Again, say what you want about competitors like Spencer, Mike, Terry, Keith, and all other players who don't exactly have a fitness model body, but none of them are self-proclaimed dad bods. And at number 2 is the one and only Rick Devens. Despite his stature, this morning news anchor was able to dominate the challenge portion of the game, winning 4 individual immunities this season. Plus, let's not forget that he won the all-important and nerve-wracking re-entry duel to earn himself a spot back in the game. And apparently, he was one of the fastest fire makers in history, and would have beat literally anyone else in the fire making challenge other than Chris Underwood, who started one of the fastest fires in Survivor history. And again, look at the competition he faced. He beat the likes of Chris Underwood and Aubrey in the first re-entry duel, and in the immunity challenges, he beat the likes of Lauren, a D1 soccer player, and players like Kelly Wentworth, Gavin, Julie, and Aurora, who all held their own in challenges. The fact that a mid-30s dad bod news anchor was able to pull off one of the greatest seasons of challenge performances in Survivor history is simply insane, and just goes to show that truly anything can happen in the crazy game of Survivor. But to me, without question, the number 1 most surprising challenge beast in Survivor history is Chrissy Hofbeck from Survivor Heroes vs. Healers vs. Hustlers. Obviously, the other 4 players in the top 5 so far have all been men, because these men certainly don't fit the stereotype for male challenge dominance. But the thing with women in Survivor is that women challenge beasts are so rare, at least compared to men, that you can't really group them. As mentioned, the most well-known women challenge beasts in Survivor history are the likes of Kim, Jenna, and Kelly Wigglesworth, and they're all younger women who are all very physically fit. Chrissy, while obviously in great shape for a 46-year-old woman, was still twice the age of most other women challenge beasts, and for that matter, most men challenge beasts. And she was an actuary going up against football players, firefighters, lifeguards, and in general, one of the most physically fit casts in Survivor history. And yet, not only was she able to beat these great competitors and win the majority of challenges, but she tied the record for all-time individual wins despite being a mid-40s woman. As I said before, one could expect a typical man to hold their own in challenges, just simply due to their bodies being able to handle the challenges that Survivor presents, so it's already rare to see a woman's challenge beast in Survivor. But when that woman is middle-aged, an actuary, and competing against some insane competition, it makes Chrissy tying the women's individual immunity record all that more impressive, and is easily the most surprising challenge beast in Survivor history. Thank you guys so much for watching, and comment down below who are some of your favorite challenge beasts in Survivor, whether they're surprising or not. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and share this video with all your friends, and I'll see you guys next time.